Yo, my name is Julian Melnick and welcome back to the Console Gaming channel. Today we're in my living room because we are going to debunk some myths when it comes to the Xbox Series S. I've been reading a lot of comments and I've been seeing a common theme when it comes to some of the questions and criticisms of this machine, and I feel like there's some things we could do to clear that up. The number one question that we have today is, does this actually have 4K image? And now I'm going to transfer the focus to the TV itself. This panel is a 4K OLED Samsung 60-inch panel. And that's pretty much all the specs I got for you. It does not support 120 frames per second, and we'll get into the FPS talk a little bit later, but this does support 4K 60 frames per second. And what you're seeing here is a 4K image at 60 frames per second. Now, when it comes to the 4K itself, this isn't true 4K because this system doesn't actually output in true 4K in most instances. In some gaming instances, it does have true 4K capabilities. I think a game like Ori Will of the Wisps is one that allows you to actually play in true 4K. Now, when it comes to streaming, on the other hand, if you're to stream something like Netflix or Hulu, you are gonna be able to have playback in true 4K, which is pretty incredible. I think that's pretty awesome. So if you're someone who watches a lot of movies, HBO, stuff like that, and you stream, this machine is actually gonna give you the true 4K experience. Now, the gaming experience being so good, I think makes this system a really awesome contender. Let's talk about ray tracing though, because that is a question and that is something that I've been wrong about, saying that this does not support ray tracing. Now the cool thing is this thing does indeed support ray tracing, which I think is really awesome. Now, I've been wrong about that in the past. I've said that it hasn't, and it does. If you've been someone who has been misled by the ray tracing conversation, I'm sorry, this does have it. Now, when it comes to next-gen gaming, and that's something that I hear a lot, next gen, does this give you the next-gen feel? And I'm gonna say without a shadow of a doubt, this absolutely has the next gen feel. This thing's incredibly fast when it comes to starting up games, getting yourself into lobbies, getting yourself playing, and it looks great as well. Not to mention the affordability of it all. A lot of people are deterred by the fact that it's so inexpensive. They think the fact that it's so inexpensive means that it's cheap. I am here to say it is not cheap. The build quality is solid. I feel like what we're getting is extremely powerful. And honestly, when it comes to playing games on this thing, I do not feel like I'm being shortchanged at all. I think that I'm feeling the true capabilities of a next-gen system. Now, when it comes to your gaming ability and how many games you can play, we're gonna talk about the hard drive. And the hard drive actually is the number one question I get all the time, is hard drive space. As well as, well, frames per second. How are we dealing with the frames per second? Now, before we jump into that conversation, I'd like to say if you're gaining value in these videos, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. What that does is it tells the YouTube algorithm, hey, JD, or Julian, as you know me, knows what he's talking about. And well, you should show his videos to more people. And when my videos get shown to more people, guess what happens? I can make more videos, which is really great. If you like this video, hit that like button. And if you think there's someone that might gain value from it, go ahead and share this with a friend, because sharing this is the best way to get this video out there. So let's go ahead back to the office and let's have a talk about hard drives. All right, feeling pretty good being back in the studio. Now let's answer the final two questions, the most common questions I get about this guy right here. And that is, can it actually run at 120 frames per second? And the answer is yes, it can, with a little star next to it. And that yes is at 1080p and 1440p, and that's two different resolution sizes. Some games will automatically allow you to run, if possible, the game at that speed if you have it enabled in your settings, or other games will have you select performance or graphics or whatever type of mode. They name different games, name it different things to enable that type of gameplay. Some of the heavy hitters right now, very popular games, do allow for you to switch into that high frame rate type of gameplay, but it does reduce your resolution. Now, if you're playing on a gaming monitor, chances are it's not really gonna make that big of a difference. In fact, you might not even see the difference in the resolution. If you are playing on a bigger TV that does offer 120 frames per second, you may see a difference just because the screen size is so big. But realistically, if you want to experience the best, least amount of latency, you're gonna be playing on a gaming monitor. Now, that being said, if you're someone like myself who streams and you have a capture card like I do, the Elgato 60 whatever plus S, this, that, and the other, You might be limited by your capture card, which I found out. I am not able to output 120 frames per second to my gaming monitor if I am capturing the image, because my capture card only allows me to capture at 60 frames per second. Therefore, the gaming system itself thinks it's being run at 60 frames per second, and my monitor, which can run much faster, doesn't get detected because there's something in the way. So just keep that in mind when you're running this thing. And what's really, really rad about it is that there are more and more games being put out that offer that 120 frames per second, which is pretty crazy. Now, the number one question, how the heck am I going to deal with a 512 internal storage hard drive, SSD mind you, for an all-digital system when games like Call of Duty Warzone, which I don't even know if anyone's playing that anymore, pretty much takes up the whole internal storage? And the answer to that question is external storage. And the misconception, the number one misconception that I've been seeing is that you have to purchase the proprietary memory card put out by Seagate that goes into the back slot of this thing, and that is the only way you can expand that storage. Well, the answer to that is absolutely not. You can do one of 3 different types of storage options. That one, very expensive. Another one is an external SSD, or what I have, a 5 terabyte external hard drive. That's not even a solid state drive. This is just a, I guess, Xbox branded Western Digital black crazy 5 terabyte hard drive. Now, that comes with a little bit of work though. So if you're not using the proprietary memory card, you cannot play any game that is optimized for the Xbox Series S and Xbox Series X directly off of that expanded storage. It does need to be local. That memory card acts as expanded local storage. So your machine basically just accepts it as more storage, and it's kind of one big, huge bucket. If you're using external storage, your machine is gonna treat that as an external storage device, but you can play games that are not optimized for the Xbox Series S and X. You may increase the load times, it may take a little bit longer, but the games run fully fine. In fact, I run Apex Legends off of my external hard drive, and it works totally fine. My load times are a little bit slower, but that is it. And the best part about it is, if you're someone who does have an extensive digital gaming library and you want to keep all those on your machine, but you don't want to keep having to delete and re-download it from the store, which takes an ungodly amount of time, you can download those games, spend the time, probably do it overnight, transfer them to this drive, and then the transfer times, depending on if you get a solid state drive or a normal hard drive, are between 5 and up to 15 minutes, which won't matter whether you're connected to the internet or not, because this is all you need. And so to round this out, let me just break down this last absolute misconception, which is, do you need the internet to play your digital games? And it only matters for, 2 reasons. One, if you want to update your game and a new update comes out. That's one. And 2, if you are utilizing the Game Pass system. If you're not utilizing the Game Pass system, then, well, it doesn't really matter. But if you are gonna need to be connected periodically here and there just to verify that your membership is still valid. So I think it's like 1 day a month you need to have internet access. So realistically, this thing is pretty darn dope. It's pretty rad. If you want to go deeper on which hard drive is going to make this thing actually feasible with the digital library, then this video is going to be helpful for you. All right, guys, happy gaming.